Hey everybody, it's Retired at 40. Happy holidays. Wait, this just doesn't feel right. Hold on a minute. Oh, that's much better. Happy holidays. It's Retired at 40. Welcome back. Today we are making all kinds of treats for Christmas. And maybe you didn't know your freeze dryer was capable of making Christmas gifts, but we've got teacher gifts, we've got family gifts, we've got all kinds of relatives that just need some delicious treats made in the freeze dryer. So we have all kinds of good treats today. We've got some Cheesecake Bites, and you don't have to do cheesecake, you could actually do pumpkin pie or something like that too. We're gonna put our own little twist on the Cheesecake Bites. We're gonna do also some Eggnog Bites. We're gonna do some festive colored taffy. And then we're gonna do some vanilla wafer bites also with a little twist. And then just as a little side bonus, I've got some extra things that I just wanna try out. Well, let's kick this off with something easy. I've got some Saltwater Taffy that is red and white and it just screams Christmas. But first we've gotta get all of these unwrapped. So step one is to unwrap them. Step two is to cut them in half so they have room to breathe. And I would imagine if these were cool, they would be a little easier to cut through, but these are not. But I'm just gonna do mine in half. I've seen people do them in quarters also. And these are actually Peppermint Taffy, so that's kind of just a little bonus, a Christmas bonus, I guess, if you will. And if you can't find the peppermint ones, obviously any saltwater taffy will work. It just won't be quite as festive. So these are pretty sticky and they're gonna wanna stick to the bottom of this tray. So I put in our pre-cut parchment paper that you can get in our store. And I've also allowed some space in between these because I have a feeling that these probably will puff up quite a bit like a lot of sugary candy does. The next thing we're gonna do is our Eggnog Bites. And I've got two separate containers because I'm actually gonna make two separate kinds. So I'm gonna put a little eggnog in each one of these. And I'm actually using a low-fat eggnog because I don't want the super high fat content. And I'm also doing organic because I think it probably doesn't have as much junk in it and it has a better tendency to freeze dry. So we're gonna do two separate containers because I'm gonna add some food coloring. I'm gonna do red food coloring in one, and then I'm gonna do green in the other. Then we're gonna take some candy canes and we're gonna bash them up. We wanna make a powder. We're going to sprinkle them at the bottom of these silicone molds, and that way when they're dry and they're flipped over, all that's going to be at the top and it'll give you a little bit nicer presentation. And now we're ready to fill up our molds. And then these just need to go in the deep freeze until they're frozen and we can flip them out of those molds and put them on a tray. That last tray, I'm going to have some extra room in it, and I've been looking for a reason to use these marshmallows, and now is as good a time as any. But they make all these different kinds of marshmallows now, and I know marshmallows do really well, and they look real festive, so I'm putting them on there. So not only do they have these real colorful ones, these would be great for Easter, but they have these chocolate-filled ones. They look like a regular marshmallow for the most part on the outside, but if you cut them in half, they have a chocolatey center. Imagine how great these would be if you could rehydrate them in hot cocoa. Next up, Cheesecake Bites. We just need to cut these in bite-sized pieces, and your definition of bite-sized pieces may vary from mine. If you make one cut and then actually wipe your blade off in between cuttings, you won't get the extra cheesecake that comes up to the top. You get a nice clean cut like this. So this is the part where you need to get creative because these look way too plain just by themselves. So I'm going to take and I'm going to cut a little slit in the top of a bunch of these. And then I'm going to stuff mine with blueberries and then some maraschino cherries. And then I'm going to take my crushed up candy canes and top some of them with that as well. Ta-da! It'll be interesting to see if after it freeze dries, if these actually stay kind of embedded in here. So we might have to work on a different method of that after they're freeze dried. Okay, one last thing to do and we'll be ready for the freeze dryer. Okay, the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take a tray full of these vanilla wafers and we're gonna pipe on some pudding onto the wafers. So we used 1 box of pudding mix and then we squeezed 40 wafers onto 1 medium-sized tray. And then it's time to get creative again. We're gonna do bananas because we use banana cream pudding. We're gonna top it with a banana. We'll do some more maraschino cherries and then maybe some blueberries and then a couple of peppermint. But you could do all kinds of stuff. You could do chocolate and strawberries. You could do vanilla and peppermint. Let us know what you ended up doing down in the comments section. Or let us know on the Facebook group or the MeWe group. The people that are already members of those knew this video was already coming out. It's time for the deep freeze. I'll see you at the freeze dryer. Okay, and everything's nice and frozen. The Eggnog Bites are melting very quickly, so I want to get them in as soon as I can. They are really, really sticky, so I'm hoping that they turn out. I've done eggnog before and it's been fine, but you just never know. It could vary brand to brand even. And you can see that our peppermint is already melted. You can't even tell it's on here, but that's okay. It'll still give us the taste and but not necessarily the aesthetic quality that we wanted. So just a little tip that I like to do my freeze drying from. I like to leave my stuff in the deep freeze overnight and I like to start my cycles in the morning. And the reason I do that is I don't like to lose sleep over freeze drying. So most of the time a freeze dry cycle, from what I have seen, at least with the new software, they take somewhere between 24 and 30 hours. It doesn't really matter what you're freeze drying. So the reason I like to start it in the morning, if you account for 24 hours past when you started it, like right now it's 8 o'clock in the morning. So best case, this will be done at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Worst case, it'll be, you know, like afternoonish time. And that way I don't have a cycle that's ending at 2 o'clock in the morning or some inconvenient time or late at night. It gives me plenty of time to get it out of the freeze dryer, decide if I need more time on the cycle, or if it's completely done, it gives me time to bag everything. And I like to allow extra time for everything. And for me, starting it right in the morning is the best possible scenario until Harvestright does a Bluetooth idea. So if Harvestright is listening right now, Bluetooth on your next version of the freeze dryer. That way you could just change everything on the fly. Traeger grills do it. There's so many things that do everything Bluetooth now that, man, that would just be awesome. We are ready to go, and I'll see you in a little bit. Well, there I go, shooting my mouth off, talking about 24-hour cycles, and it's done, allegedly, in 13 hours and 14 minutes. Yum! Look at these. These turned out pretty awesome. With the exception of the chocolate marshmallows, which one of these days I'm going to learn my lesson. But I really want the chocolate in some form. This chocolate seemed like it was a little bit different. The texture was kind of different on it. And I swear it was going to turn out, but it didn't. So I did end up adding some additional time onto these. I really just wanted to see if it would change anything, and surprisingly it did. Even though these looked like they were completely dry, the Cheesecake Bites did not change at all after the additional time was added. The candy canes, they did what typical sugary stuff does, and they kind of foamed up over time. I think that they were dry before, but really there's not any moisture in super sugary stuff like that anyway. It's so dense. What's kind of crazy to me is you see this blueberry right here? It has the same sugary foam coming out of it. I've never had that happen on a blueberry. Even the maraschino cherries that have kind of a sugary, syrupy stuff on them, they didn't foam up like that, but everything looks like it got really nice and dry. And the Cheesecake Bites, even though they had a little bit of oil on the bottom, I would imagine just that was part of the recipe, was oil. The parchment paper soaked up what was kind of left over, and these aren't really too bad. I mean, they should store for at least a couple weeks until you can get them out to whoever you're going to give them to for gifts. Those are a fun little snack. The multicolored marshmallows, you know, marshmallows do really well, and they make a really cool texture. Another super fun snack. The chocolate ones, I really wanted them to turn out. They would make a cool short-term snack, and really everything did well. Like the marshmallow part did well, but that chocolate just does what chocolate always does, and it melts. The Eggnog Bites, they actually changed quite a bit just in that 8 hours that I added onto them. And you can really see the difference in the candy canes. They actually kind of started to melt on top. The red ones are really cool though. This is a good conversation starter. The green ones aesthetically are not quite as cool. If you left off that candy cane flavoring, you'd kind of get rid of this red stuff. Although it kind of does look like a red, snowy, icy topping. But I really like the candy cane topping with the eggnog. It actually complements it pretty well. What I'm really sad about is we found these molds yesterday at Michael's that have Christmas type shapes in them. And I just have the boring old squares that I used. I'll put a link for these, the ones that I used. These actually fit in the tray really nice. So you can dump them and they will be the same size as the tray. But for Christmas or whatever holiday you're doing, these Christmas molds would make really cool shapes for the Eggnog Bites. So next, look at this taffy. The taffy is super cool. The stripes kind of popped out and it makes it real Christmassy, holiday looking. And taffy just always turns out awesome. Just look at that. It just makes a big puff ball. I like that one a lot. That one turned out great. Well, I saved the best for last because I think these things are just picture perfect. They look like something you'd buy in a bakery, and they're just so unique. I think these will be a for sure hit. And I'm dying to try these Maraschino Cherry. I was a little worried that this was going to kind of all fall apart like some things do when they freeze dry. They separate instead of sticking together, but everything stuck together perfect. It looks nice. And all those flavors go together really well. The maraschino cherries, they almost turn into like a jelly filling. They're real interesting. I like those a lot. Well, that's it for today. Hopefully this gave you some inspiration for some holiday gifts. Everyone have a happy holidays. Spend some time with your family and relax. Celebrate the things that are important in life. In the meantime, this is Retired at 40. Remember to live life simple. We'll catch you next week. I need to get out of this itchy sweater.